Mark pulled up outside the prestigious private school, just as the afternoon bell rang, expecting to see Lily running toward him with her usual bright smile. Instead, she walked slowly, her small backpack hanging loosely from one shoulder. Her eyes avoiding his, something felt wrong instantly. But he kept his voice warm and gentle, asking about her first day. As they drove through the busy New York streets, Lily gave short, quiet answers. Staring out the window that night, as Mark helped her change into her pajamas, his hands suddenly froze. There on her small arms were faint but unmistakable bruises. His chest tightened, a wave of anger rising so fast it made his hands shake, but he forced himself to stay calm for her. Kneeling beside her, Mark softened his voice and asked, "What happened?" Lily hesitated, her lips trembling as she tried to find the words. Finally, she whispered about a staff member who had been mean. Someone who grabbed her when she didn't understand instructions and squeezed too hard when she tried to pull away. Each word felt like a knife twisting deeper into Mark's heart. He gently reassured her that she had done nothing wrong, that she was safe now, and that he would handle everything. After tucking her into bed and waiting until she fell asleep, Mark stepped into the living room, his expression changing completely. The calm father disappeared, replaced by the focused intensity of the man he used to be. He took clear photos of the bruises, documenting every detail carefully. Then he opened his laptop, digging into school forums, parent groups, and review pages. It didn't take long before he found vague complaints, other parents mentioning their children coming home upset, small hints that something wasn't right. Mark reached out privately, asking careful questions, and within hours, a few parents responded with similar concerns. His instincts sharpened with every message. This wasn't an isolated incident. Something bigger was being hidden behind the school's polished reputation. As midnight approached, Mark leaned back in his chair, connecting the dots. He knew exactly how systems like this protected themselves. Silence, intimidation, and image control. But they had made one mistake. They had hurt his daughter, and what they didn't know was that Mark wasn't just another overwhelmed single parent trying to make ends meet. He had spent years exposing powerful people who thought they were untouchable. Now, with evidence building in front of him, that same relentless determination returned. This time it was personal. By sunrise, Mark was already dressed, his laptop open and phone buzzing with replies. He hadn't slept, but his mind was sharp. Driven by purpose, the messages from other parents had grown overnight. More stories, more details, all pointing to a disturbing pattern the school had carefully hidden. He organized everything with precision, creating a clear timeline, attaching photos and labeling testimonies. Years ago, this had been his world, and slipping back into it felt natural. But this time, every piece of evidence carried a heavier weight. This wasn't just another story. It was his daughter's pain. By mid-morning, Mark made the call he had been preparing for. On the other end was an old colleague from a major national media outlet, someone who trusted his instincts. Without question, Mark didn't exaggerate. He didn't need to, the evidence spoke loudly enough. Within an hour, a small investigative team was assigned, and by noon, reporters had begun reaching out to parents and staff, connected to the school, the administration. Caught off guard, issued a vague statement denying any wrongdoing, but cracks were already forming. Social media picked up the story quickly, and what started as a few concerned voices turned into a wave of outrage. Outside the school gates, parents gathered demanding answers. Some held their children close, others shouted in anger, their trust shattered. Reporters lined the street, cameras rolling as new details emerged. Sponsors and investors tied to the institution began distancing themselves, unwilling to be associated with the growing scandal. Behind closed doors, executives scrambled to contain the damage. But it was too late. Internal documents leaked, revealing prior complaints that had been quietly dismissed. The truth was no longer hidden. It was everywhere by evening. The impact was undeniable. The company that owned the elite school released an urgent statement announcing suspension of operations, citing internal review, but everyone knew what it meant. Lawsuits were already being filed, and financial partners had started pulling out the foundation they had built on secrecy was collapsing in real time. Mark stood near his apartment window, watching the news unfold on multiple screens, his jaw set, but his eyes softening when he glanced, playing quietly in the next room. When she ran up to him, wrapping her arms around his waist, he knelt and held her tightly. The noise of the outside world faded. In that moment, cameras, Headlines and corporate downfall didn't matter as much as this. Her safety, her trust. Her smile slowly returning. Mark knew the fight wasn't completely over, but one thing was certain. He had made sure his daughter's voice was heard, and in doing so, he had given courage to many others who had been afraid to speak.